Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to put the prints onto the leaves of the book in the proper order. If you remember in another video, I showed you how to make this accordion fold 4" by 6" set of leaves. You've got actually 10 leaves or 10 pages to work with here. Today what I'm going to show you how to do is to print on these in the proper order. So this is the one I made in the video. I have another one that I'm going to use for printing on, just as the demo, but I have this third one. Remember, I made 3, and I ended up cutting this one a little short, so I turned it into a demo piece. But what I've done is I've labeled the pages. So page 1, the first page, or the first leaf, that's going to be blank. You're not going to print anything on there. Page 2 is your title page. Then you open it again. Page 3 and 4 are your first 2 images in your book after the title page. Images 3 and 4 on page 5 and 6. Images 5 and 6 on page 7 and 8. The last image is on page 9, image number 7. Remember, you've got a title page plus 7 images. That makes 8 blocks you cut. And then page 10, just like page 1, is blank. Page 1 and 10 get glued to the cover of the book and actually hold the pages in the book, but they don't get anything printed on them. Okay? So keep that in mind. But I did this because you need to pay attention to the sequence. When I hold it this way, it's pretty easy to follow. Page 1 is on the left, page 2 is on the right. But when you're printing, those things are backwards, because remember, you're rubbing on the back of the paper. So it is helpful to pay attention to the sequence. It might be a good idea to write in your sketchbook the sequence of things and what page they're on, and make a little diagram of this, or take one of the extra ones that you made, one that might be a little defective like this one, and use it to draw this out so you can plan things, because you don't want to print things upside down or out of sequence and have that mess up your book. You want to print them in the right order. Okay, so I've got this one as a demo. I've printed all of my blocks. I'm going to turn this down here and test printed them. They still need a little bit of work, but for the purpose of the demo, I'm going to get moving. So this is going to be my test piece. So I am going to be printing on this side of the paper. This is going to be page 10. So I need to go over here actually. This is going to be page 1. Where did page 1 go? Wait. Nope, I got it right. Okay. So, there it is. Page 1, page 2. Okay, page 1, there's nothing on it. I need to print on page 2. So, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to open it up past page 2 a little bit. You have to be really careful when you're handling this, because you can, with the wet ink on each of the pages, you can make ink spots all over. Keep your hands clean when you're working, just like regular printing, except more possibilities to mess up. Another thing I have is I have some 4 by 6 inch note cards. They're the same size as the page. If you don't have 4 by 6 note cards laying around the house, just cut some 4 by 6 inch pieces of copier paper. Make sure you cut them to size. It's going to be important. You'll see in a minute. And I have one that is marked off where my block will sit. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be where my first image goes, and I'm going to work so that you can see. So from the back, I'll write it very lightly so you can remember. Page 1, nothing on it. Page 2 is my title page. That's the one I'm going to print on. So this little jig has, like I said, things laid out. 1/2 inch on each side. Remember, your image is 3 inches by 4.5, but your page is 4 inches by 6. So 3 inches minus or plus 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 4. And then there's a little extra space at the bottom, as we typically do. So 1/2 inch at the top and 1 inch at the bottom. 4.5 plus 1 plus 1/2 is 6. So I'm going to put that underneath where I'm going to print, and I'm printing my title page first, okay? And I'm going to line this up on here, and then I'm going to line up my paper with that, being very careful not to touch the paper to the block until I have everything in position. And there. And then I've got my printing press, and I'm going to print. And you want to make sure you do a good job printing all of your blocks. If you get to your last print, the 8th one, and you let it slide around, you've ruined that last page and messed up the whole book. It's sort of like being one of the scribes in the monastery working on the Bible. You get to the last word on the page and you drop a blob of ink on the page and you got to start the whole page over. Part of the reason why you've got plenty of paper and you started with at least 3 strips long enough to make the book. Gives you some time to work things out. So there is my title page. It's a little salty. So page 1 blank, page 2 title page, too close, too far. So what I want to do is protect that while I print page 3 and 4 and 5, etc. So I don't want to leave here and go wash my hands, make the video boring. But I'm going to take one of these note cards, put it in between page 1 and page 2, and I'm going to use a paper clip, and I'm just going to clip it there. And what that's going to do is that is going to keep what I just printed from smearing or offsetting onto page 1. Keeps it covered up. Okay, now I need to print page 3 on here. I'm going to go get that block. Just over here, inking up. Okay, this is block number 2, the first image. Okay, so now I will take this and carefully line up. And the reason I cut this or have this little jig made up is I can line up the fold with the jig, and when I set it down, the image is in the correct position on the page. So then I take my spoon, now I'm doing this upside down so that you can see it pretty easily. So for me, I'm working left to right, but really what you're doing is you're working from right to left. Your first image is to your right. The second image is to the left of that. Third image is to the left of that. But when you turn it around to the printed side, after you're done printing, then it will be in the right position and it will read left to right. If your images are not sequential, and mine really are not, then it doesn't matter so much. You just have to make sure you get your title page first. And of course, it's very important to make sure everything is right side up. But if you do have images that are sequential, where one image depicts something and then the second one depicts the following event somehow, then you want to make sure that you do them in the right order. Okay? So there is page 2. Okay? And once again, if you have a lot of space, you can just leave this whole thing laid out in one long strip. But you probably don't have a lot of space to work, and so just clipping the note cards or the paper over and folding as you go will keep everything clean. And you can leave these note cards clipped in here even while you're assembling the book. Okay, so I've done page 2 and 3. Page 2, remember, has the title page. Page 3 has the first image. So then I would just keep going along until I got to page 10 or page 9 at the very end. Page 10 is blank. And then I would either leave this folded up until it dried, and this ink takes a while to dry, or I would take it apart carefully and hang it as a long strip to dry. It will probably dry faster if you can hang it up as a long strip, but it may be a little more vulnerable in your studio depending on what your workspace is like. So decide how much space you can take up, and if you can keep it clean and out of the way, lay it out flat. If you can't, just keep it folded up with something in between the pages as you go. The next video, the last one, is going to show you how to make the cover and put the book into the cover. Okay? Bye-bye.